Hello and welcome back to another episode of Henry Weston's Old Mate the podcast. Slightly different angle here. Bit of male mental health chat. I am joined by an old university friend of mine, Mark Adamczyk, and we are going to talk mental health and why Mark in recent times has made somewhat of a quite significant career change or moved away from his previous career. Before we get over and meet Mark, please just like, rate and review us. This is going to go possibly out as a video because I know Mark wants the video content, but definitely audio. So if you're listening to this, please share us around, like us on Apple, Google, Amazon, Spotify, all the big ones. If you see us on YouTube, please like, rate, leave a comment, get those algorithms going. I think I've done all the waffling. Let's go over and meet my old friend, Mark Adamczyk. Mark, thank you for joining me. And how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, very good, very good. Apart from a slightly Sean Dyche voice, so I'll apologise to everyone in advance. People will think I'm just trying to look cool with and tough with the voice, won't they? No,
Interesting.
I'm all good.
Yeah, I say interesting football reference because that is probably our background. Me and you met at Wolverhampton University. I started in 2008. You were coming towards the end of your degree at that point. You were, I believe, in my younger brother's year, or possibly even the year ahead of him. You were well into your football. You were captain of the university football team, and you were undertaking possibly the PE degree or the sports science degree, one or the other. And I got to know you through, friends of the football. We haven't kept in touch all that much over the years, Mark, have we? But let's be honest. But I dropped back into your inbox because I noticed you'd set up a business venture called Click Teachers. So being a bit nosy and being a podcaster, I dropped you a message and you explained to me that you were no longer working as a teacher, which you'd done for about 15 years. You'd set up Click Teachers, which we're going to get to learn more about in this podcast. But firstly, Mark, since you left uni, talk to us about how your career in teaching went, and then we'll get on to the reasons why you're not a teacher, and the mental health aspect will become quite clear during this discussion.
Yeah, so I mean, first off, what a time. We had a great time, so some laughs. I'll avoid calling you fun time. I'll let you address the audience about why that is the
I,
case and
I
all
don't
that.
think that's ever been discussed on a podcast why my nickname was Fun Time, but we've touched on it now. I'll let people in on that another time.
Yeah, what a great time and a time where I tell you what, if we are talking about mental health, it just wasn't so out there, was it? It was, and you probably look back and there was probably challenges and stuff that people had, but it's just masked by kind of a world of you felt like no responsibilities. Obviously, you did have things, but yeah, what a time. So I suppose. I went through university with the simple thing. I'd had it really driven into me by my mom. She's the first person in the family to go to university, and was right. You've got to go there. That's what you've got to do. And all I really wanted to do was play football and do what I enjoyed. So I ended up going, carried on playing football with a scholarship, and did PE because I felt like that might be a secure career. Had probably a background growing up where there wasn't a huge amount of security and those sorts of things, and money was tight. And I'm sure lots of people have got that story. So really, I wanted to try and find some security, but I still didn't know what I wanted to do. And I went right through to the last year of uni when a really great lecturer got on with him brilliantly, just pushed me towards, right, I think you should apply for the teacher training. Um, got onto it, and then went into a PE role, but I was still, I would say, very selective about what I wanted to do. For example, I didn't want to. I was really selective about the school, so I did my kind of teaching placement at a fantastic school. Loved it. Really got on with them. Felt like I fitted in well. I don't want to say, probably should announce this, that I blagged my way onto a PGCE course, but I definitely didn't have some of the experience or the lifelong ambitions to be a teacher like some people do. My wife's a PE teacher as well, and she kind of grew up always wanting to do it, whereas I was very much the opposite. So I got onto the course, and this school really, it just fit. And people will have that whether they work in a school or not, where you just really fit into an environment. And suppose I've always been driven, and we'll talk later about teachers, but by a moral kind of purpose in things. And I don't think I could work in your private school environment, stuff like that. I really enjoyed working with kids who had similar backgrounds to me and felt like it was rewarding to give them opportunities that I perhaps never had. So, although my teaching wasn't as polished as I'd have liked it to be, that was a big moral driver for me. And I ended up quite selective about school, so I didn't want to move schools. So I ended up turning down a few PE jobs to work at this school that I loved. Did cover teaching, which was eye-opening. Turn up on the day, no work set. Kids think, right, we're here to mess around because we've got a cover teacher. And yeah, went for it from there. And I've got kind of ingrained in me this: it doesn't really matter what I do. I want to be the best at it. I want to give it absolutely everything. So that set me on a path, really. Although maybe teaching wasn't my ambition forever, I'm going to be flipping good at it. And I think I progressed quite quick, went through PE teaching into leadership roles, all around behaviour and pastoral. That's what I enjoyed, and that's what I liked, helping people with. I wasn't terrible at school, but I suppose I wasn't the most perfect. So it was nice to try and help people on that, and then eventually getting into senior leadership. So I think that's a shortened version, but I'm happy I could talk all day about my career. So I'm happy to give you any more if you want.
No, I mean that's brilliant, and we have said off air, Mark, that hopefully, well, this will go well. The podcasts always do. The bad ones don't go to air, so no one will ever know. But we have discussed that hopefully this will be an intro, not necessarily into you being Mark, but a guest on the podcast who can come on and discuss many aspects of mental health. But I know just from knowing you reasonably well, Mark, that you're the sort of guy who can come on and do roundtable discussions on any manner of things within your profession. I mean, I do a few football podcasts. You've obviously got that, but I think you're one of those guys who has a very solid opinion, who can back it up on something like this sort of podcast forum. But what we're going to do in this one, Mark, we're going to focus on mental health. And I think the sad thing is when we come on and we talk about mental health, realistically, the situation is it's going to be a bit of a sad or negative story, generally leading up to some form of, I don't know if redemption is the right word, but it goes from sort of good to not so good to bad. And then we hear about what you, being the guest, have done to change things. And hopefully there's a success there. Not always the case, but with you, you've left uni, you've been working at this fantastic school, you're loving what you're doing. Things started to change. And I know there was a period over Christmas, a year ago, I believe, or 2 years, you'll have to pick me up on that, where you decided that you could no longer basically carry on doing what you were doing because it was had an adverse effect on your mental health. And you decided to make a change. And being a family man with children and a mortgage, we all know things like that. You can't just decide, well, I need to change jobs. It's not as simple as that. Realistically, that can take some people a lifetime to. Some people never get out of jobs they don't like. I'm waffling a bit here, Mark. Talk to us about how long into your teaching career. Let's set it up this way. How long into your teaching career, at what point did you start to have concerns about how it was affecting you, let's say, away from the classroom?
I think I would probably say, I touched on this a little bit earlier. One of my biggest things is this, and in some ways it's masked as a good thing, this drive to do really well and this drive to not let anybody down. And I think what I'd probably done is use that as fuel, and that had always been seen as a positive thing. And I would probably say, and this maybe touches back on uni, there was so many like releases or way to kind of channel that additional energy, like, you know, whether it be football and you're going out and I mean, my whole life was geared around football. It was, you know, playing football, going out with the lads after, those sorts of things. You could go out, you could have a drink, and I suppose it's before like real life kicked in, I'd say, you know, like a wife, kids, those sorts of things. When that kicks in, those things obviously have to curb, and suddenly you don't have that. Release maybe is the wrong word, but No, I'll use it. I suppose you don't have that release where you can lose that obsession, if you like. And then when you kind of don't have that release, I know I became obsessive with work, and I know I became obsessive with, right, I've got to do this. And the nature of my role that I did, it was around behavior with children. And there is always going to be a behavior problem. You can raise standards, you can raise and change culture in a school, you can do whatever, you can smash it with your context or your area of responsibility, but behavior is subjective, and
Yeah.
you can get it to a point, but then there is always going to be something, behaviors that were really extreme might stop, but then there might be smaller behaviors. You're
Yeah.
dealing with people, so things change. And I think my personality was really simple. You work harder. Something's not right, something's not how you want it to be, you work harder. And my boundaries did start blurring. I think what protected me at my first school was I ended up doing a big commute. So I met my wife, who lived far away from me. She was a teacher as well. It was kind of like further north. I was in the Midlands. So we bought a place in the middle, had our daughter, and she was going up and I was going down. So
Right.
work-life balance was protected there to an extent, because
Yeah.
I could feel it kicking in at the time. But the commute protected me, because if I didn't go, I didn't pick my daughter up. If I didn't get home, there were certain real parameters around that and firm boundaries that I couldn't challenge. And I moved school to get close to home, which was a great decision. Came to a school further up. And obviously, when you're doing a 15-minute journey in, you can now use the time a little bit different. And it was really as work-life balance started tipping. But again, I normalized it. I'd probably say that's what it is. And it's not a sob story to the teaching community, but any teachers that will listen to this, there's a lot of normalized behavior around work-life balance. You're going to work hard. And it used to be this kind of given that, well, you got the holidays, and that almost was fine. And I could kind of compartmentalize that, yeah, you get the holidays, or maybe your exam group leave and you gain some time. So those periods of working hard and stupid 14-hour days or whatever,
I was
they're
just,
great and they're fine.
can I just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's just one thing. I get the impression, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but when you're saying working harder, is it fair to say realistically that means longer?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's not a so to be very, very clear on that, and I've had this battle a lot. I'm a kind of and I had to transition through leadership. So I love leadership, big passion of mine, down from captaining football teams as a kid growing up to leading teams of people in work, and I love it. I'm interested in it, and I've had to shy away and move from this. A great mentor described it as kind of the knight in shining armor leadership, where you'll just go in and you'll fix it, and you're the hero, and everything's great. And sometimes that's easier because you just go in, you do it, and you can do it. But in the long term, that doesn't help. So 100% working harder was working longer for me. It was right. Okay, and I finished my career I'd get to the building at around about 6ish after going to the gym in the morning, because I felt like I needed a release. So I'm getting up at 4:30, getting to the building, and I'm leaving 7 o'clock, sometimes even later than that type thing. So when you've got 3 children, that becomes a challenge in itself. And it wasn't working smarter at all. No, I fully acknowledge that. And I fully acknowledge that a lot of the teaching industry does have its challenges. Hence why so many people are leaving. But this is a me thing. Not everybody does that, and I know.
I think I don't probably should have said at the start. I completed a PE, a physical education degree, never stepped foot in the classroom, decided it wasn't for me for various reasons. We're not here to discuss why I chose not to do it, but it seems like in my profession as a greenkeeper, Mark, there is a certain amount of work that needs to be done to maintain playing surfaces, and the only way this work gets done is with a human being sat on a slow moving piece of machinery. Generally, there is no smarter way of doing it. Realistically, a green takes 2 hours, and you can't do it any quicker. The technology is where it takes 2 hours. Someone has to be sat on that. People in my profession generally find themselves sending their guys home, the minimum wage paid staff home, and then they take on that responsibility. And you'll find course managers there till midnight doing, because if I stay an extra 8 hours, that's 4 extra greens I don't have to do tomorrow. It seems like I guess every profession, if you drive for a living, maybe that's managed by something like a tachograph. If you do anything where you can push those, if you can achieve more by simply being there as such, many people choose to, because they believe that they're going to get that time back later on, be it the weekend. If I stay 5 hours on a Thursday, that's 5 hours I don't have to do on a Saturday. Sitting back now, me and you both know that's not the reality, don't we? And we're going to get on to discuss that. So right, you've mentioned your children. You've obviously got a mortgage. You're a grown up. You're starting to decide, I'm not sure if this is right for me, but it's not that simple, is it? How do you go? But let's move towards the genesis of Click Teachers, really, because you've decided that maybe teaching isn't doing me any good. But what's your thought process? Do you consider a change of school, or do you make a fairly big decision that I need to not be a teacher anymore?
I think I will answer your question. I think it's dead interesting what you said then about people feeling like they need to show up, and I think it's a huge thing at the minute in everything. And I think COVID brought us to this home working type thing and remote working, and I'm a big advocate of it, and it took me a long time to get to that actually because I'm such a face to face person. I much prefer, like, if I, whether it's delivering a Teams meeting to 100 people or standing face to face in front of 100, I want to look into the eyes of the people. That's how I am. But I do think there's a guilt around not being in the office, and I'm sure you'll find people like that. And your office could be anything. It could be a green, like you've described. It could be a classroom, and feeling like you've got in that 100% is in teaching, and the nature of it's there because you have to be in a classroom, don't you?
Yeah.
Ultimately, there is some contact time. But I certainly found that if things aren't going right, well, I'm going to be the last one to leave. I'm going to be the
I'll
first
lock the
in there.
door almost. Yeah.
And there's definitely a guilt around that 100%. I think people will probably battle that, and but it's not needed. And I think you need such strong people in industry who can kind of almost make that okay for people. It's okay to work from home. It's okay to not be there if you don't need to. But I think what's missing in a lot of things is a real strong goal. If you've got a really strong goal and you hold people to account to it and they know what success is, it's fine. Work from home as long as the job gets done. It doesn't. There's more than what's the phrase, ways to skin a cat and all that sort of stuff.
Is that
Um,
down to the head teacher, the board of directors? Who lays that out in a state-run school, Mark?
I think that can be down. I think that's a lot down to the head teacher and an academy would, if it's an academy, the governors would set the vision for the school. But your head teacher is only good as the leaders under them, and you've got to filter that all the way down into your team. So it's so hard. And a great leadership lesson for me. And I know we've gone off on a bit of a
It's all right.
tangent
It's
here,
fine.
but great leadership lesson for me, I was always told, was you are so much better to have a simple system or vision that everybody in that building follows 100%, as opposed to a really complicated one that is maybe perfect if it all works, but not everybody quite follows it. And I think I put that down to anything with leadership in an industry, in a corporation. Everybody has to buy into that vision and values, because you're only as good as the people who are filtering it all the way down to the ground. So I suppose my answer would be, it's not always the head teacher who's reliable. They set the parameters, they set the vision, but it's the people who are upkeeping that vision all the way down. And ultimately, how it felt with me, nothing to do with the school, nothing to do with the leadership. I just didn't. I just didn't carry it through. I just didn't. Yeah, I suppose be firm enough with myself, and that's where I got to the point of leaving, where I could have tried another school, but I believed I'd just set my boundaries so wrong, and it had impact, because I don't believe I was terrible at my job. Cue a million comments on your post, people saying I was, but I don't think that'll happen. I think and I think what then happened was I just couldn't break it, and I needed something extreme, which was going to go right. break it and learn those lessons type thing.
So so you've held yourself very, very accountable then, and I think human human nature is to probably, my impression is you're probably being quite hard on yourself, but that's just how I'd view it, Mark. We talked off air the other day. The breaking point, if you will, came over over Christmas. And you're a guy who has kids, and you've said to me, Christmas is a big thing for you. You love Christmas. Your your role as a teacher ruined a Christmas for you, didn't it?
Yeah, so what I used to do, and look, teaching, wonderful profession. Again, I won't say I was natural to it. Probably the things I enjoyed more, and I think I was a good, solid teacher. Can walk in a classroom, teach anything, because a lot of it is about presence and being the right person, and you can kind of add the experience. My leadership roles, I would probably say, were what tip the work-life balance, but I wanted those leadership roles, and I wanted to do well at them. And yeah, we've kind of talked about that before. So it got to what I would usually do. My strategy would be, because I struggled to compartmentalize things and go, right, work's work, leave it at the door type thing. And a long time I kind of envied people who could go in, do their shift, get home, and home's home.
You wouldn't
Um,
like me then, because I've got quite good at that in recent years.
but it's needed. It's so needed. And I mean, we talk later on it. I probably jumped out the fire into whatever, because running my own business, that doesn't go away. So like the
That is
social media,
definitely at home.
I'm trying to get better at it. So what I used to do, firm strategy, holidays, I would set apart, because you do have to work in your holidays. I don't care what anybody says. That's what you have to do. And the higher you go up, the more that comes. I would always set the first few days where I would get my work done, and it was boxed off. Then that's it. I'm ready for first day back. And I'd do that with the weekend. I was never a person who'd leave it till Sunday night. That would just mean I couldn't enjoy my weekend. I'll shamingly kind of reveal that I used to get up at 4:30, 4 o'clock on a Saturday morning to try and do my work, so then I could enjoy the weekend with the kids. I'm embarrassed to say that, but it was something that I'd done towards definitely the end of my career. So what happened to me? It was Christmas last year, actually. Obviously not
Christmas
the.
22.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a late breakup, so we were into your 20s type thing. And yeah, love Christmas. It's just, since we've had the kids again, it's made it again. We watch Christmas films in our house through November into December, and the tree is up on December 1st, no matter
And you
what.
buy matching pajamas, don't you?
Yeah, do you know? And the worst thing is, I can't even say my wife makes me. I can't even say. She forces it on us. I flipping love it. But I will be one of the ones to claim. If you scroll through my social media, I was doing that before it was popular. I'm gonna put that one out there. Not a trendsetter or anything, no. So yeah, look, just love it, love everything about it, and really buy into it. And probably, God, if it's turning into a counselling session, that might be like right back to childhood. We've not having much, and Christmas was the time where it would be a treat and all that sort of stuff. But I'll avoid crying on you or anything like that. Let's move on. So it turned to basically I'd planned out, right, I'm going to do my work in, and it was a time where, keep revealing unhealthy work habits here, but it was a time where I would not do anything at the weekend socially with my friends, going for a drink, doing whatever, unless it was a holiday, because if I felt rough Monday, I've got to be on my A game. I'm, leading people here and driving change. Like if I do that at the weekend, that's going to cause me a problem. Monday, I'm not fresh. So I hadn't done anything with my friends for a while, and my wife could see it. She's like, right, you've got to go out, you've got to do this. We usually have a day out as the lads over Christmas where we're going to do something together and get some time together. So we booked this day to just go down in London, a few drinks, nothing major, and come back on the train. And the only day we could do it was right after when we broke up, but then it led straight into, because again, Mr. Christmas here, I've got plans 23rd, I've got plans 24th, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, like we're right through different families and stuff. Honestly, it's tough on the old drinking front. I feel like I need another week to recover after my Christmases. But Yeah, so I couldn't do the work was the sum of it. And even on that day, it's playing on my mind. I'm in London with my friends. It's lovely. Should be dead relaxed, and it's playing on my mind. Thinking, "Shit, when am I going
Could
to
your
get
friend,
this?"
could your friends pick up on that?
Yeah, a little bit. And then like, are you okay? Those sorts of things. And I've got quite a good network of friends, and I'll say that really openly to them now in terms of we can be really open about these things. This isn't, the old school men environment where we won't show any weakness in front of each other. This is very much we're happy to talk about these sort of things, and it sparked something that I do want to mention later. An idea for a social Facebook group that I run called the Friday Tidy.
It's written on my
Based on that.
notes, mate.
Yeah, I will definitely mention later because that started with my friendship group. But anyway, so pick up on it and look. There's a brave face in front of the kids over Christmas, all those sorts of things, but it's lingering. And I'm not I'm not in a corner bursting into tears, and I'm
I
not.
was going to say, how's it is it manifesting behind the eyelids, just in the
Yeah,
brain? Is it coming out with the shortness of temper, quiet, not so quiet in the corner? Are you keeping it in, or is it popping
I'm
out?
keeping it in, but I'm not as present as I should be.
Yeah,
I'm not as present as I should be, and that's the big one. I've worked now to understand myself. In the past, it might manifest in an outburst or anything, nothing violent, but like losing your temper and short rag. But I've been able to, and I mentioned earlier, I had my releases before, so that never really came out. Football, drinking, whatever it may be. And as we've gone through, I'm one of these idiots who does all sorts of these challenges. I'll sign up to a white collar fight with 8 weeks training. I'll walk 12 hours, not even for charity, just for the sake of it. Do boot camp challenges, just like I like pushing myself to my limit, and that's where I've kind of found the fitness stuff I do now, and that's become my release. So the tempo wasn't so particularly short; it was just not as present, and
yeah,
and that bugged me because you gear all year to Christmas and you know how fast it goes, or I gear all year to it. It
yeah.
went really quick, and it's actually it's the first time I've ever done it. Boxing Day, I went to my family, my wife's family, and my family now, massive Everton fans, season ticket holders. We went to the Boxing Day football and had this reflection there at Boxing Day, and it's a moment that I'm really big on manifesting, reflecting, reframing things, and it's a moment where I looked forward to Boxing Day so much this year, and I was very gutted when Everton changed their Boxing Day fixture because I wanted to be there because I made a statement to my wife's brother, and I was really clear, and I was like, do you know what? It's going to be different next year. I'm going to do something different. I didn't know what it was at the time. I had toyed with different ideas. I'd had other people approach me about jobs, outside of teaching. But I could never really make that move. And some of it being security and some of it being a loyalty. I have to really invest in any job I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't never particularly feel like that's the boss and I'm against the man and I'll just do bare minimum. You're getting all of me in this, and particularly the people at Alaska, I felt a real loyalty to, and I didn't want to let them down. That was a big thing going through my head at the moment. But I made this kind of what would you say? This statement at Christmas: things are going to be different next year, and that started the ball rolling really with me thinking I've got to do something different now.
So you've you've made that statement to your brother-in-law. You've made that statement to yourself. You've obviously been in the industry many years. You have beliefs about what could be done differently. You have beliefs about possibly what could change, and you used the word subjective earlier, Mark. And obviously, your ideas are subjective; they're what you believe. Um, I think we've chatted off air and discussed things within the teaching industry that are probably quite wholesale beliefs within the majority of the professions or professionals within the profession. Um, let's talk about click teachers. Let's discuss it. And this is all to do with the pod, and it's not a sales pitch. But just tell me what you wanted click teachers to be, and has it become that? Because I know you mentioned it yourself. It's got some very strong, or it's got a very strong moral identity as a business. So introduce it. Tell us as much as you want, as much as you can. I might interrupt because I'm a bit nosy. And then we'll see where that leads us to sort of wind the pod down after that, mate.
Yeah, and chip in and interrupt. There's probably a few ways we can look at it. Yeah, number one, I would say and I say this regularly on the kind of Friday tidy that I do. Everything's subjective and everything's my opinion. I think that I love a podcast called The Brilliant Idiots, and I just love it because it's called The Brilliant Idiots, and it's very open. The world we live in now is you can have an opinion, like anybody can have an opinion about anything. And what I try and do and stick by, which I think is good advice for anybody, but again, my brilliant idiot logic is take a range of information from sources, and then that's okay to put your opinion across type thing. I think when people are naive about their opinion, they shut down and this is how it is. I think that's where we have issues. And that's why, this, what you're doing now is so good, because it gives you an opportunity to talk things through. And, we might join a podcast in a month's time and my opinion might be different because new information's been brought to me. I think that's a healthy way to be. But I'd definitely rant about that one because there's some very fixed-minded people in the world.
And we keep letting them be prime minister. That's the problem.
Oh, don't you start on that. Do you know what frustrates me the most? We could end up ranting it. What frustrates me the most is just fixing into a system that doesn't work and then just going, that's just how it's always been done. What a load of, I can say bollocks.
Doubling down and doubling down again.
What a load of shit. Apologies.
So click teachers, what let's set it out so that someone doesn't message and say, well, you told me about it but I still don't understand. I'll ask you a question. Is Click Teachers a recruitment agency?
Okay, so yes, let's just say yes. That's how we operate because I do believe there is a need for it. So this is derived from made the decision to leave, not necessarily start Click Teachers, but it became really apparent that this is something that I can do with the support of my brother and his business partner, and who I was going to go off to work for, using the skills that I'd gained from teaching. So I had this feeling in my head, so many teachers were leaving teaching, and the market had changed here. So supply teaching, and I do not want to offend anyone, and there's always anomalies here, but supply teaching, in my experience, had always been there was two types of supply teacher, bar your exceptions, and that was not quite good enough to get a job, so I can't get a permanent job, so I'm going to have to come in and do supply, or it was I don't really give a shit anymore, and I'm going to go in, get a paycheck, I've finished, I've maybe retired or whatever, I'm going to do it. Now, to all the people that are offended by that, there is exceptions, I know that. That has changed so much to what I've seen now, and because teachers leaving, for whatever reason they're leaving, whether it's work-life balance or they want flexible working, because mine was flexible working, I knew that would change things. Within a week of leaving my role, flexible working just changed my life. I still work stupid hours, but it's on my terms. Like this morning, I've been able to drop the kids at school because I had a really extreme late day. I was in the office at 7 yesterday, got home at 7 again, and was still on the phone through the night. So that's okay, because now I don't feel as bad, because I've helped with the kids getting ready in the morning, and I've helped being able to take them to school. So Click Teachers came from wanting to provide something for those teachers who wanted flexible working but still loved school, still loved being in the classroom. Because when I saw the alternative, it was, and by the way, there are good recruitment agencies out there, and I'm actually in conversation and collaboration with a few down south who are fantastic. I don't mind mentioning them on this in case it helps anybody. A place called Apple a Day, and they're made by teachers as well. And there's really good people knocking around who do want to raise industry standards. But there's some huge poor practice that I've experienced myself firsthand. You're talking like, I've been the PE teacher. I've got 60 year 11 lads in front of me all wanting to do rugby on the field. Their teacher's not here, so we've got to supply. Brilliant. The agency said that this supply person's PE trained, and round the corner becomes this is nothing against 5-foot teachers, but a 5-foot teacher in a suit with heels on with a limp who is not going to go on the field. So I've got now like these 60 lads looking at me going, "Sir, you're not sending me to a classroom, are you? I'm year 11. I've had tests all week. Do not put me in a flipping classroom." And I'm just left in the point where, these kids wouldn't even been out here. They'd have gone straight to a classroom, which doesn't put my group at risk. Ultimately, I'm doubling up 60 students here, which is, I can't deliver what I should be delivering to my group. And it's
And
come
this
from,
is because you haven't been supplied what you believe was coming.
yeah. And look, do you know what? There's a teacher shortage, so we probably couldn't get a PE teacher, but at least I know about it. I can
Yeah.
plan something, I'll adapt then in my own time, and I'll plan something for 60 people. I just need another body out there who can help me organize and stuff. It's just not knowing it up front. I've heard other things have gone into schools and right, we need a German teacher, and they send a teacher in, and the teacher goes down to walk and see the department, and the teacher says, "Oh, what will I be teaching? Tell them German." The teacher can't even speak German; they've just been sent down by the agency,
Just a
and
body, just somebody.
yeah, and there's other things where the supply teachers come in and they're not of a good standard, but they've been sold in a different way. And there's other things where the schools don't treat the teachers very well because everybody's kind of lost a bit of faith in the system. And I just remember thinking there was just an acceptance over it, and just an acceptance of it's just how it is. It's supply.
Yeah.
Just it is what it is. And and then the other thing that got to me, I'll speak to head teachers, and they'll say, "Right, I've a great agency here. They're honest, they're trustworthy." And I'm thinking, what would happen to you, Stu, if you weren't honest and trustworthy in your job?
Yeah.
When did that become the exception? That's the bare minimum. These people are making a markup. So, I use this phrase, justify your markup. And because that's fine, and that's why I do feel like, I avoided this agency term, because they do get a bad rep through schools, and that's coming from someone who would look to have agencies in, and even done cover myself in the past. There is a bad rep, and I look to avoid it. But I do think there's a place to justify that markup, and if you justify that markup, then 100% there's a need for agencies, because there is other alternatives, but I don't think they give you what a good agency can give you. Um, so I suppose kind of this had all been going around in my head, and the big one I wanted to solve was just a phone call in the morning, the uncertainty of knowing if you're going to be able to book someone because it's such a busy time. So I managed to find some great people who had been incredible and built the platform where we can use an online booker. So we're thinking like an Uber system
Right.
where you can get a teacher as easy as you can get an Uber taxi. That was the thought behind it. And if there wasn't anyone available, instantly. So in a school, if I'm the one booking, I would then be able to straight away be able to, I can't get anyone. So now I'm going to have that extra hour where I was waiting to reinvest the time in being creative over a solution. And it started with that. And then all the stuff that I talked to you about previously, this moral thing came in, and this drive to like, I really want to raise the standards here. And, I will work with any agency across the country, because ultimately, if we improve and we get better, and click teachers won't be perfect at times, that's
So
put that
you
out
want
there.
to, sorry, you want to raise the standards of the
The
teachers
industry.
you are supplying as a business.
I think the whole industry. So I think not necessarily the teachers, because there's fantastic teachers out there,
Of the
not
whole,
necessarily
this is
schools.
a holistic view of, yeah,
This is my view would be, we're going to operate in a certain way, and hopefully good agencies who are operating like us continue to thrive, and agencies who are not, they have to up their game a little bit. I must admit, it's been eye opening, because I kind of presume that, right, teacher senior leader coming into this, here's what we're doing and how it's different. Everybody jumps on that type of thing, and I probably underestimated the relationship that agencies have with schools and with teachers. And it's probably back to like what I said earlier on a loyalty thing. I felt a loyalty to my employer when I was a teacher, and teachers do have that ingrained in them. And I think people do have a loyalty to their agency, and schools have a loyalty to the agency that we're using. But my kind of view is, look, if we can't help you, don't come with us. I'm not going to pressure sell you or lie to you. But look at the offer. Look at what's being offered here, and look what's being offered there, because there are 100% places being taken advantage of. And I could be specific on some of the practices and policies that are in there, because I think there's 100% a place for agencies to help, because it is hard to source a teacher in a teacher crisis, because that's what we're in across the country.
I might be putting you on the spot here, Mark, and I don't want numbers, but average sized secondary school in an average sized town, would you be able to tell me how often a week, a day, a term, how often is a school likely to be requiring a supply teacher?
It's completely dependent, very dependent. So I think on average across the country, each school spends the sum up to 150 to 200,000 pounds. That's like national
A year?
statistics a year on their supply needs or illnesses or those sorts of things. Now,
Wow.
again,
I'm amazed.
yeah, it's big, and that's a kind of a national statistic. Some schools will have it, and they will work and employ cover supervisors, and it's all internal. Some primary schools will use teaching assistants to cover. There's a range of of things there, and we found it's very school dependent. What we have found is, though, and this is kind of where we've snowballed a little bit, because we do things additional to just pairing a teacher with a school. We do more than that. We set the teacher up in a range of ways to succeed in the best way, and we work with the school so the teacher can fit in straight away really quickly. A lot of our teachers have been booked up on long-term placement straight away, so it's created a little bit of a. There's always a long-term placement needs because people have long-term absences or they struggle
I
to
guess you've got
recruit themselves.
maternity, long-term sickness. Yeah.
Yeah. And schools will advertise for that, but sometimes the right candidate doesn't come along. So a lot of our teachers then kind of been put long term, which then takes away from our day to day availability. And
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Mrs. Briggs calls in sick, whoever it may be, can we take X, Y, and Z? So we're on a real journey at the minute of consistently onboarding teachers. But I'm really proud, like a stat I shared on our social media, 95% of our teachers, when they take a 1 day booking, get booked again in the same school, whether that be on a long-term placement or whatever. And that to me gave me real faith in the system, because you do have your moments. You're running your own business, and at the start you're going, this is so different what we're trying to do to the norm. Is it right? Should I just try and get bodies into places? Is it right that we're so open, about who's there? And there's this like trying to be as transparent as possible. And again, we won't be perfect. But it's nice to get to that point now where we're a good few months in and we can kind of evidence through all our bookings. That's a big number, 95% of your teachers that, you are putting a good quality in there, people who do a good job and tend to fit into the school quite well, that we're happy with and we're happy to be able to do.
Is I've got, I'm again, I'm not trying to trip you up here, Mark, but I'm just thinking if people watch this, listen to this, however they choose to take this in, there won't be millions of people. If we were a bigger podcast, the comments are more. I'm just thinking there's people going to be listening to what you just said and say, this is brilliant. But in the long run, it's probably going to end up costing the business money because you're trying to be too good, which I think I hate it when people come in and do that. But realistically, people are going to question if I don't want to say moral high ground, but having such high moral standards and trying to do this, someone's going to turn around and say, it's all very well, but when this business gets bigger, he's not going to stick to that.
Yeah, so we've definitely had to stick by our guns on a few things and be really.
Has it cost you? Has it in the early stages? Would you say that's
Yeah,
possibly been at the detriment of the business?
100%, and that's where we have that. But I'm very big on anything in this bit, yes. In this bit, no.
Yeah, the
So
long game.
in the long run, this will come off, and we all have the pressures from investors. This took an investment to get it started, and I'd love to be able to just say, yeah, we've got X, Y, and Z. But I do believe, and again, maybe my openness doesn't help sometimes, because I say to schools, look, we're not perfect, we're not going to get everything right, but talk to us. We're willing to adapt and change. We use a rating system again with teachers and schools, and that's unique, that's unheard of.
Right.
But it puts a level of accountability in there, and it's not a rating system where someone's coming in and doing a lesson observation. It's you arrive on time, you're up and you're walking around the classroom, not sat at the front. And for schools, you provide the policies to the teacher, and You know, you don't just call them cover. You maybe know their name, or they're a guest teacher or something lovely, like basic things, so you're not catching anyone out here. And we are selective over schools and teachers we work with. You know, I walk into the schools and I go and visit my teachers as much as I can. And as we're growing, it's not, you know, I used to be at a great stage where any booking I'm in on that day, it's, you know, that's changed a little bit. But I go and visit, and if a school's not open for me to, because I don't want to have to be walked in, because that is a pain for the school. That's hard for them to get another member of staff. So, you know, I am former senior leader. I'm a trained teacher, so it should be fine that I can go into school. And schools that aren't on board with me saying hello to the lovely reception people and walking straight to the classroom to see my cover teacher, we don't work with, because it, you know, and we're the same with teachers. If you don't kind of get the vision, then it's fine. There's no hard feelings, but we want to, we want to work with people who align with our values. And you haven't got to be the finished article or a world-class teacher, but you have to be willing to buy into what we're doing. So yeah, it has cost, but we will, you know, we'll stick firm by that. There is rooms and places where we've had to flex like anything, because 100% I'll come into this with a naivety. You know, I've got great people around me, but I'm a teacher, I'm a senior leader, I've ripped up the rule book. Why does it have to be done that way? Like I said to you earlier, but there is ways that things do have to be done.
I've
So
just
I do have to flex it.
I'm just listening to you talk, Mark, and it's wonderful. And it's not half the reason, but it's one of the reasons why I do these podcasts, because I get the opportunity to listen to people driven professionals like you firsthand, and for free. I don't have to pay you to come and share all your knowledge with. I'm just putting a bit of, I'm just thinking in my head almost a silly football analogy. Just want to throw it in there, and like your beliefs. And at the moment, we've got football, and whether it's Pep, whoever started it, but we're playing out from the back and people believe in it, and Ange at Tottenham, and we're going to play out from the back for 90 minutes all season, and we're not going to change because I believe we're going to be better for it. You've got Ten Hag at Man United. We do it for 10 minutes, concede a goal, and then Banana Onana is hoofing it up the pitch, and the fans are saying it doesn't work. Look at Ange, and this might come back to haunt me when he's sacked at the end of the season, but I think these people, in whatever they do, be it football, be it click teachers, I believe, and this podcast, I've stuck to my guns for over coming up for 3 or 4 years now. I believe the people who are strong enough, be it you, to stick to their principles, the majority of the time, the proof is in the pudding. You're still going, you're still successful. Because if you dilute that, try and filter it down. If someone phones you up and says, I'm desperate, Mark, I don't care who you send me, I'll pay whatever you want. And if you think I'll do that today, then it's almost down the pan, isn't it?
100%. And I tried not to get too excited when you mentioned Pep. I am a football development man. So I did, you know, Pep Adamczyk, whatever you want to say, we'll see if that nickname sticks. No, I was going to give a uni reference there. But no, I try and stand by that 100%. And look, there is times where you know, my big thing is, because there is a time where people do want that, you know, they go, we just need someone in there. It's at the detriment to students. It's a detriment to our staff wellbeing. We just need someone there. Or a teacher goes, I just need to get into work, so I'm willing to flex on those sorts of things, right? My philosophy be, as long as they are open with that, and that's where the online booking system works so well, because no one's lying to anyone. There's not a salesperson in the middle going, I've got this, I've got that. Like, there's a real open, this is the person I've got. You may have preferred more experience, but that's there. If that's the option you want to take, then let's make parameters ready for that person to come in. So yesterday I delivered 2 45-minute long prep sessions for bookings yesterday to support the people going into the school. So they knew the systems, they felt comfortable. Those behavior management strategies given from me, you know. I've done other things where I've gone into a school on the day of the booking and made sure the teacher's set up with various things. Have you got logins? Have you got these things? I've been an extra body to try and help the school who I know is really busy. It's that sort of approach that I think that sticks back. So as long as the values and philosophy is there and the moral purpose, doesn't matter how you get there. If I have to go in and do those extra things, if I have to ask my staff to do extra things to do that, that's okay. And that's where I want the flex. I don't want the flex here. Those values and that vision has to stay in line. And if there is flex in how we get there, then that's where I'm willing to flex and kind of be open with. And I think that's about, if we're relating it to football, that's maybe your values are we play out from the back. But if we do something different when we get into midfield with it to create something, or we set up with a different formation, I'm willing to do that as long as that value kind of reigns true. And I want to agree with you, and I hope I'm still saying the thing in 10, 15 years time, whatever it may be, because I'm a big right, like, yeah, I like that. It used to annoy me, and I'm keeping it back to football now because you started me on it. But when the best team doesn't win, and you
Yeah.
kind of ride it a lot. I'm running a girls' football team at the minute for my daughter, and we play in a boys' league, and we play out from the back, and we play flipping lovely football, and we get people from other pitches that want to come and watch. Oh, I love what you guys are doing, but we get beat. We get beat more often at the minute because it's first season by a massive hoof up and a big physical lad running through and scoring, and that's a lot to do with.
Let's cover two things here. How are, firstly, the girls reacting to that? Are they able to buy into the vision? And how are your teachers reacting to that? Because I would assume I might be wrong, but you may have people on your books who possibly aren't getting quite as much work because of the moral stance the business takes. But
So I think so. The girls' football. I won't say the most important thing. I'll alienate half my business. But the girls' football, we've been clear. We did a parent, and this is grassroots football. So this is what a weirdo I am. I'm delivering a parent presentation like they're in an
I love
academy.
it. I absolutely.
So we did we did that, and it was just put out like, if you want me to do it, this is just the way that it's going to be done. And I work with another guy, and he's very much the same. And it's kind of like, it's just our way of doing it. There's no hard feelings. If you prefer to do it in a different way, everybody's welcome to leave or do whatever. So the vision's set out there, and it was very clear that, like, us as coaches and you and parents, we're stakeholders in this, and the next ones are the kids. So as long as we agree on it, we can control the perception that goes to the kids. So the main bit is really, engaging the big stakeholders in it. And if three of you are aligned, it's okay. So then the girls, you can see me talking about hands, they're very used to me going, right, there's where we started on the journey, having to play 2 extra players at the start of games, like 9v7 to try and just be even and getting beat loads, to now we've moved down the scale to here where we play 7v7. It's closer games, but we are still losing. But eventually we'll get to there, which is the dream. The golden football's working. We're winning every game, and they kind of buy into that. And I try and set our standards a little bit differently. That, look, I'm a competitive person. I love winning, but I try and set it different in terms of our standards are about the quality of how we play, because it's good for your development. And we do things like 4 principles. You're going to work really hard. You're going to be positive with each other. There's no excuses. Don't tell me it's cold. Don't tell me the referee's rubbish. Don't tell me they kicked you. We've got to figure that out to build those resilience. And we want to get better. And if they follow them, I'm not bothered. The football will come after that.
You're developing young people through the medium of football.
That's what I like to. That's what I'd like to say, and I suppose the proof's in again how the parents feel about that. And in terms of click teachers, I think it's an honesty. If I cannot get somebody work straight away, they know about it on the call. I'm not signing you up and making up a job that's there. Like, this is the situation that you're in, and got a wonderful person who's got loads of recruitment experience that works with me, but she'll tell you about her interview process. It's flipping tough. It was a day-long interview. It wasn't sit and have a chat. Like, I needed to make sure I've got somebody who aligns with what we're doing and buys into that. And it's just that, and I always think it's just being open. And what I want is teachers to come on board with us. And a lot of the time we can secure opportunities straight away, and you're going to work quickly. There is some times, like, I've got teachers, and I wish they could see the background work. I'm desperately trying to find more like-minded schools to get them into placements. But it's a tough industry. But hopefully we're open enough with them that we know we're working. And what we're quite lucky is, and I'm an advocate for it. I'm not trying to say don't go with any other agencies. We've got teachers sign up with 2 or 3 agencies to give them a steady stream of work.
Yeah.
What I just hope is that when we do create an opportunity for them, they trust in our vision and values that actually I want to come with you when that opportunity is there. And that's the way we're operating. It might come to sting me, it might come to bite me, but I can't get up any. I can't get myself up for the challenge if I do any different to that type thing. And
No.
again, I'm going to put it out there. We may do things wrong. We may, we're new to the industry, but our heart and our intentions are in the right place. And you feed back to us, we're more than willing to work with you on that.
Wow. And that is brilliant. And I personally wish you and Click Teachers well on the journey, Mark. Today is Wednesday. Oh, it's all a mix. But you mentioned it earlier in the podcast, the Friday Tidy. Let's wrap the podcast up with the Friday Tidy. I know it's professional based now. You said at the start of the pod, it started amongst your friendship group. Tell us about the Friday Tidy, Mark.
So the Friday Tidy is a bit of a laugh with a couple of my mates. So we all live quite far apart. It's people you will know from university as well, and we try and there's 6 of us, and we try and just keep in touch as much as possible. But we've all got kids, so
Yeah.
we were lucky we weren't gone through that stage of life at the same time as each other, because that does, and people know about it, cause you a challenge in your friendship groups. When one person's got kids, the others still want to do the things they used to be able to do. We've all been there, and we don't get to meet up as often as we like, but we voice note, we text, we use WhatsApp, we even send videos to each other, and there's a few things we make jokes about it. Mental Mondays, weird Wednesdays. It just, the basis is you just get it off your chest, and you might know that it's completely irrational. It doesn't make sense what you've got a problem with, you're bothered about. I lost my rag the other day over the bin man, just stupid. It's nothing to do with me, but I was dropping the kids at school, right? This is how weird I am. And the bin men, they come to collect the bins around the school at the same time as pick up and drop off, and that's manic. We've all been in primary schools before.
They do that at my work. They turn up at school pickup time, and we've got a school and a college outside, and there is 25 minutes out of 24 hours of the day that you wouldn't come and pick the bins up, and they do.
And I'm just thinking, this is what stuff like this drives me crazy, and I shouldn't get so annoyed about it. And hopefully there is a bin person who's going to come on and tell me why this happens. But I get there's a route, but that route's hard for them. Like they're in a road and they're stopping, and I get it. They stop traffic both sides. They just get out. They do it. But there's people going, hurry up, beep beep. Like everyone's at the height of stress, and I'm thinking your day would be a lot nicer if you just avoided this time.
10 o'clock.
And but I can feel it, and you can see my personality. I can feel this is playing on my mind now. It's happened a few times, and I really want to just get to work. You're making my journey longer here, because I'm battling now with flexible working. I do drop-offs on a couple of days, dead rewarding as a parent, but I need to be in the office and I need to get some work done. But that was a rant. I just ranted on WhatsApp.
So you rant to the lads via a WhatsApp,
yeah.
And they feed back to you and say, Mark, you're being a wally. Mark, I agree. Someone else might say, Mark, why don't you try doing this?
Go on, sorry.
No, I was going to say Friday Tidy has moved to with you to a professional point as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, so kind of it, got to that point, and it could just be a laugh or just posting things, what everybody does across the country with all their friends type thing.
Yeah.
But I felt there was a need, because in schools, what I believe has happened in some is you've lost that staff room, or you've lost that free time. So when I first started, I ate lunch in my department every day. All the funny, ridiculous things that happen, or the things that wind you up, you talk about, and you get it off your chest, and it's a laugh, and we all joke about the crazy, incredible stories. Someone's took a poo in the pool, can't believe it, just like completely random stuff. Or I'm having a really shit day here and this is tough, and like just get it off the chest. Whereas that time's just gone. Like towards the end of my career, I'm doing lunch duties every single day. I don't get to sit with my department. My free periods, I'm busy. Like I just lost that. So and it made me think, well, now I've left and I've kind of got a bit more of an outside perspective on it. Like, let's just try and make a space where, and it's not a huge group at the moment, but it's for anybody who works in schools. You could be a receptionist, you could be a canteen supervisor, you could be a teacher, you could be a head teacher, whoever just joins the group. And I'll post stuff every so often. A lot of my people, sometimes they don't engage necessarily in comments or watching it live, but they watch back. You can see all the insights and stuff. Or I'll go into some schools and they'll talk to me about the Friday tidy and stuff. So it's a forum to be able to post stuff throughout the week and respond to stuff.
Is it a live forum every Friday?
So it's all week, it's a group, and then I do a live on the Friday. So I do a live where the time range is flipping name Friday Tidy, because it doesn't matter what's going on in my week. I'm there on a Friday religiously. And you can imagine people want to just enjoy the Fridays. But no, I've committed to doing it. So I do it. And yeah, talk about whatever topic comes up. So, I tend to get a tidy off my chest. We did a bit of a strategies for going back to work this week, and I'll just talk about things that kind of are themes, positive self-talk, those sorts of things. But we do a few like sunshine moments of funny stories that have happened in schools. We talked about. Have we got time? I could tell you one funny one from this week.
We've got plenty. When you're talking here, it just reminds me I don't go to AA meetings anymore, but I have an AA. I have an AA meeting in my head. Friday Tidy was taking me back to AA. But go on, mate. Share
and it's just me that talks on it. People are welcome to, but we've tended to move with the audience, and I think they like listening and commenting and stuff like that. So the last sunshine moment was the classic story. Teachers just DM me these and stuff, and things have happened. So you've got an early years teacher who's teaching in classroom, gets dumped on. I've got to teach sex education. Oh no. Never really taught it before, difficult year group, all that sort of stuff.
To primary school children.
We're secondary
Oh,
here,
wow.
so we're right into everything. So your classic PSHE starter that everybody kind of gets told, oh, this is not a bad one to deliver if you kind of like the group. It's right. We're going to be talking about sex education today. I'm going to be using the word penis, vagina. How hilarious. Let's write these words on the board and let's get it off the chest. What other words do you know for penis? And cock's coming up and all sorts. So you're writing this on the board, and basically you make the point, right, okay, now we don't use those words. The giggle's off the chest. The awkwardness has gone. Now we deliver the session. So this teacher's had to do that, and they've gone through the session. It's up on the board. It's not their classroom. So it was in a PT time where tutors aren't in their home base all the time. And they basically go to rub off. Kids are gone. They're feeling pretty good about themselves. Oh, shit. It's in permanent marker and not whiteboard pen. Now, I've done that before with a date and title and absolutely shit myself. Oh, God, it's not my classroom. It's stuck on the board. What am I going to do? But it was permanent marker. And obviously, you can imagine penis, vagina, everything you can imagine is written up on that board for the rest of the day for groups to come in and see. And the teachers had a big panic, and luckily they sorted it. But it was great. Like, when a comment come through straight after, and it's like, oh, do you know hand sanitizer works really well if you want to wipe it off? Every teacher's been in that situation, probably where they haven't got like cock and fanny written all over the board and stuff. But it's moments like that just to give you a chuckle. It's only 20 minutes long, but yeah,
and I think, I mean, it's wonderful, Mark. And I've since you mentioned it to me a few weeks ago, I've been wondering, I mean, within my industry, I guess any industry, if I might look at trying something, because I know mental health, there is a couple of mental health Facebook groups that have quite a lot of impact in, and I'm not necessarily good, but I'm not terrible at facing something like this we're talking on. I can potentially host a little something, and if I could get something going be it on a Facebook Live, somewhere live, just to see what the uptake, because I get messages from greenkeepers, because that's what I do. You get messages from teachers, quite a lot of messages since I've been doing this podcast. And I think sometimes people just need to see someone else and hear someone else dealing with problems, and not necessarily always overcoming them, but just, it sounds silly, doesn't it? But we just need to know that we're not the only ones dealing with a massive cock on our whiteboard.
There's a
um,
lot, do you know, it's so right. And majority of my audience don't want to come on live. They don't want to necessarily comment, but it surprised me, because you go through that point and you'll be the same with the podcast. You're going, people liking this, people enjoying
yeah, oh,
it. Is
yeah.
it worthwhile? And then, you know, to go into school and people who I didn't know were necessarily watching, to go, I'm really enjoying these Friday tidies, or do you know what? I had a tough week. This has got me through. Like, it's nice. Some people like to just have it in the background and kind of listen and think, right, yeah, I've gone through that as well. And you know what? If they don't want to listen and think to me, then just don't listen.
Well,
It's
I had
very
an email a couple of weeks ago, and we, as greenkeepers, we don't have an industry, we don't have a union. We're not unionised. I guess we could, as individuals, we could join a union, but we don't have a greenkeeping union. But we do have an association bigger, the British and International Golf Greenkeepers Association. They're big, and they organise greenkeeping, if you will. But I got an email from them the other day. They'd done a little, someone within them had been asking around about podcasts, and Henry Weston's old mate had come, and I was absolutely shocked. They said,
yeah.
I've had 3 or 4 people mention you, so I'm dropping you an email. Are you the guy who runs a podcast? And actually, I thought, it is out there, and people are, because you're right. I do sit there and I do look at the numbers, and they range from anywhere between 50 to 100 listens generally. And I think, is it worth it? But that's not a lot of people. That's not why we do it. But to get that email, it was reassuring, and it certainly gave me not necessarily a kick, but if I was ever thinking of not doing it, you get an email like that, and there's definitely another year. I've got content booked up for weeks to come, but it certainly helps. Mark, what I'm going to do, we've been going for an hour. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you, because this has been in and around mental health. Perhaps the focus has drifted, but that's not a bad thing at all. How has your mental health, and how has you, as Mark the friend, Mark the dad, Mark the husband, how has that improved since you made the bit? I'm not going to say left the profession, although that's what you did. You made your decisions for whatever reason. How have you been since you made that decision?
Much better. I'd probably say present being the key word. I will always have times I can fall back into those bad habits with that drive and work-life balance, but just so much better. And it, you know, flexible working might not be the key for everyone, but it's been the key for me to try and make things more fluid. I'm such a regimented person. If I don't follow a plan, it throws me off things. And school and that environment kind of lent into that. Whereas now I'm having to face head on. I've got to be a bit more flexible. So I've got to drop the kids this day, so I have to move this to there, and that helped me a lot, to be honest. I've a big focus this year on balance. I've talked about it before on the Friday Tidy. I feel like the important areas in life to me are friends, work, um, family, and fitness, like they're, you know, in whatever order.
Lots of
And I
F's
feel like,
there.
what's that? Sorry.
Lots of F's there.
Yeah. Usually saying a different one and offending everyone. But it seems like once one goes well, something else drops down. I feel like I'm on this constant scale. So I'm really trying to focus this year on establishing a bit more balance across them all, you know, not necessarily being 10 out of 10 in everything. But since leaving, I think the biggest thing I'd say to people is you have to take action with mental health, and you have to take action, not necessarily, you know, jumping onto tablets or counselling or whatever it may be. Everybody's got a different thing that works for them, but it's never an instant fix. And unless you invest the time in being the best version of you, you're going to struggle forever type thing. So, you know, I could have left teaching, and unless I made positive steps to change things, nothing improves still. No,
Yeah.
nothing improves. I'm still in the same situation. So I would say it's not something that will ever kind of be perfect. And I don't think mental health is perfect in anybody. I think people, potentially just mask it. Everyone's got their challenges, but find the things that work for you and stay disciplined with it. And random one to finish that I saw the other day, it was Neil Warnock, and maybe I have anticipated this quote completely different, but he talks about enjoy enjoy being disciplined so you can enjoy enjoying things. And I was like, I don't know how that makes sense. So what he's basically saying here is, and if I say that again, I'll probably word it differently, but to me, I took it as you have to be disciplined and do things that you don't always want to do for a long-term gain. Like, I don't want to prep my food every single day, but if I prep my lunches for work and those sorts of things, I have less stress in the morning. So then I'm a better version of myself when I go into the day. And that's just a small example. I don't want to, I don't necessarily want to get up at 5 in the morning some mornings to go to the gym. But if I do it, I've had that release and I'm a better version of myself. And that you've got to find the crutches that work for you and make sure you do them. Because if you don't, that's a challenge.
I think what you've touched on there, Mark, and I can sort of throw another spin on it that is very relevant to me, and I guess everyone could. Me being a recovering alcoholic, there is ways to. I could live a life where I don't drink alcohol, or I live a sober life. There is a huge difference. A life of sobriety involves working on myself almost on a daily basis. I could white knuckle it to a point and I could live a life of not drinking. That would be completely different to sobriety, because in sobriety, I'm happy, disciplined, focused where I want to be. What you're saying, without that dedication, without that commitment to goals, a set of morals, weighing your food, if that's what you choose to do, there is so many ways, and I think it comes down, a lot of it comes down to discipline. For me, a lot of things come down to repetition, finding what works and sticking to it. And a lot of people who aren't recovering alcoholics will say, oh, Stu, you never really truly enjoy yourself. I might not, but it allows me to stay sober, and that allows me to be a good father, a good husband, hopefully a half decent employee, and a
Mhm.
good boss to those guys who work for me. I've witted on. Mark, you have been a wonderful guest, and I'm pretty sure you're going to be a guest in the future. Um, just wrap up how you see the next 6 to 12 months for yourself and Click Teachers, and then I'll say thanks for being a guest, and we'll stop the podcast, mate.
No, yeah, thank you, and well done. It's not an easy thing that you've embarked on with the podcast and with being alcohol free, but I think, like you say, unless you that was the big thing. A lot of people get stuck in their comfort zone, and if you keep repeating it, you get the same results. Unless you take action, and that's advice to anyone listening. Unless you take action now, nothing ever changes. But I suppose 6 to 12 months. It's a tough one, but what I would say is that we continue to grow with more schools and more teachers and people who align with the vision, and the system works. It's a case of using it now, and I hope we continue to serve people well, and like you say, stick by those values and those morals. In terms of me personally, I want to make sure I've got a balance across all those areas type things. It's not an easy thing, but I hate that feeling of yo-yoing between doing something well and not well and changing. So that's a routine that I've got to try and establish. But from a work point of view, I hope it continues on the same trajectory that we've been going on. And to do that, we need people to take action and don't kind of just settle for what's always been done. I suppose the message of this podcast, because what's always been done in this industry, from what I've seen and witnessed, not everybody isn't always good enough. And that's not pinning it on the teachers, that's a system thing. So, you know, try something different. And the nature of this is people may listen and go, sounds flipping brilliant, that, and they won't do anything about it. I had Gary Vaynerchuk, who I don't really listen to anymore, business kind of mentor. People said to him, why'd you give that advice away for free? And he says, do you know what? Because 99% of people will like it and won't do a jack shit about it, basically. So the 1% I can compete with. So I suppose if it's a call to action for anybody who likes what we're doing, share, Click Teachers, get it out there, because that's the biggest thing we need at the minute. The more people who use it, the better the system is, the higher standards change in the industry.
Perfect, Mark. All the links, any links, will be available in the show notes for this podcast. Mark Adamczyk, great to catch up with you. Thanks for being a guest on Hemi Western's Old Mate, the podcast.